Hi, I'm Stuart. Welcome to my channel if this is your first time watching one of my videos. Welcome back if you've watched any of my previous videos. In both cases, thanks for watching this video. In this video, I'm going to do the Christmas Tree Minor Crisis book tag for Booktube. This was an original tag created by Nigel at Reading Ideas-UZ9XK. I was tagged by Nigel, so thank you for creating this tag, Nigel, and thanks for tagging me. Take a look at his channel. He's got a great channel. He has a lot of great finds. Lives in England, and he has a lot of great finds in the used bookstores. He goes to, I believe they call them charity shops there. Finds a lot of great sci-fi books from the 60s and 70s. And also he has a metal detector, and he goes to various places in England. He gets some great finds. He's found a lot of coins, artifacts, stuff as much as 2,000 years old, which is really cool. He occasionally talks about that in his channel too. So take a look at his channel. He's got a great channel. And he's really supportive too. I was also tagged in a video by Gavin at Genre Books when he did this tag. So thank you for doing that, Gavin. I appreciate it. Gavin has another great channel. And he has a lot of similarity, actually, as I think about it, with Nigel, because they're both Englishmen. They both frequent used bookstores, charity bookstores, I guess. As I said, I believe that's what they call them there. And they both get a lot of great classic books, 60s, 70s books. A lot of classic books, so please take a look at his channel too. And but no good deed goes unpunished, so since Gavin has tagged me, from now on I'm going to tag him in my tag videos too. All joking aside, of course, anybody who does not want me to tag him, please let me know. I would not want to have unnecessary notifications to YouTube for you. Thank you, Gavin. I appreciate the tag. There are 9 prompts, and the heading says, talk about a book inspired by each of the following prompts. The first prompt is, pine needles on the floor when nature strikes back. I actually just read a book that probably would fit this prompt. It is The Night Parade by Ronald Malfi. There is a virus that is a quite virulent virus that I don't want to give spoilers, but has a devastating effect on people, which in most cases leads to their death, and not a pleasant death either. What happens in this book too, this is a mild spoiler, I suppose, but so I'll put the tag, the spoiler indication at the bottom of the screen, in case you want to read the book. But for some reason, which is never explained in the book, all the birds die. And that results in really insects going crazy. There's a real proliferation of them, and they get larger pretty fast. So I think this book really would satisfy that prompt. The source of the virus isn't explained, but I'm assuming it's a natural one, unlike, say, The Stand by Stephen King, where there's a created virus and it escapes a laboratory. I'm assuming it's a natural virus. And I think from here on in, if I say something a spoiler, I may not say it's a spoiler, but I'll put the tag on the bottom of the screen. I don't think I'm saying anything that is too, really ruins any book, but it might be an issue. So I don't feel like trying to say it's a spoiler every time, so but I'll put the tag on the bottom of the screen when I think anything might be a spoiler. Another book that I think fits in this category is Oryx and Crake by Margaret Atwood. In part of this book, this is kind of a book where people play what I say playing a God complex, messing with things they shouldn't mess with. One of the things they did is genetically engineered animals. And those things didn't always occur like they thought they would. A lot of times, the animals turned really dangerous. So even though the start of this was the people trying to genetically engineer animals, the result of it was the animals, in many cases, turned deadly and turned on people and became very dangerous to them. The second prompt is Shards of Christmas, tree balls to pick up. Shatters, falls apart or gets stabbed. As far as stabbings go, I recently read A Court of Thorns and Roses by Sarah J. Maas. And although I don't remember a particular stabbing in it, there were knives and swords involved, so there had to be stabbings there. And I know in Fourth Wing by Rebecca Yarros, there were stabbings. There were definitely people killed by stabbings. Lots of people killed, some of them by stabbings. So that book qualifies for this part of the prompt. As far as falling apart, one book I think of is Happy Place by Emily Henry. In this book, this is early in the book, so not really a spoiler. Early in the book, the main female character, her name escapes me, but she is engaged to be married, and she's basically almost like turned over her life kind of in a way to her fiancé. She has his friends, and even her friend became one of his friends in the circle because she started dating, and I think eventually got married, somebody in his circle. So she's basically spent the past, I believe it was 4 years, basically living in his world. And at his bachelor party, he and his childhood friend realize they have feelings for each other. So he calls off the engagement and says, she lives in his house too. He says she has a week to get out of the house, and he goes away for that week. And basically, her world falls apart. I guess you could say it's shattered too. Both of those expressions you could use, because she had this whole thing planned out, marriage, and it just abruptly ended. So I think both falls apart and shattered would apply to this particular book. The third prompt is Ornament catches the eye. Minor character steals the show. For this prompt, character comes to mind. I'm thinking more to a series of TV shows, but I know there was novelizations too. And that is the character of Q in the Star Trek series. I think Q first appeared in Star Trek The Next Generation. I think he made multiple appearances there, made multiple appearances as Star Trek Voyager and in Deep Space Nine, I believe. He started out as a villain, but I think the character was so interesting that he became more, I guess, it's not a great term for this, but he's sort of a frenemy. He's still sort of a villain, but he sort of works with the crews too. So I think he was played by John LaChancy. Again, I'm thinking of the shows, but the shows did begat books, and I remember seeing at least one Star Trek novelization with Q on the cover, so it appeared like he got his own book. So that's a character I think that started out just maybe a one-off, I'm guessing, but he became a major recurring character. So that's one character that comes to mind, Q, in this, I believe, the second, third, and fourth Star Trek series he was in. Could be later ones too, I haven't seen the later ones. And as I said, there are books, so it's not totally out to lunch, me picking this one. The fourth prompt is Lights Tangled and a Couple Out. A mystery, a tangled story with twists and turns. One book that comes to mind is another recent read. It is The God of the Woods by Liz Moore. This book had a lot of twists and turns. There was multiple characters, multiple times, and there were a lot of twists and things that took me by surprise. So that is one book I think of. Part mystery, part thriller. A book I quite enjoyed reading. Another book that comes to mind is The Murder of Roger Ackroyd by Agatha Christie. This book had a real twist ending to me. I just didn't see it coming. Suppose like Agatha Christie books probably, they always have or frequently have a great twist ending. Perhaps maybe the most famous of them all was the twist ending of The Murder in the Orient Express. But that's one I read a while back. But this book I just didn't see the ending coming. So it had a twist ending. So that's another book that I think, even though it's only the ending, but it was really a big twist. took me totally by surprise. And the fifth prompt is candle catches tree on fire. Fire burns the place down or is important to the story. One story that comes to mind is one I just read, part of it yesterday actually, is The Lurking Fear by H.P. Lovecraft. It's in the Complete Tales of H.P. Lovecraft, which I'm reading now. There is a fire in this particular story where a building burns down, which is important to the story. So that's one that comes to mind. Another book that comes to mind is Rise and Fall of the Dinosaurs, A New History of Their Lost World by Steve Broussais. This is actually a non-fiction book, but I do recall that in the time that basically ended the reign of the big dinosaurs, in the opinion of the author, many dinosaurs still exist. Birds are dinosaurs, but what we commonly think of dinosaurs. Part of what happens was because of the changes wrought by comet hitting the Earth, where there were a lot of fires. So fires played a big role in that. Again, it's a non-fiction book, but fires did play a big role in the end of the reign of the giant dinosaurs. The sixth prompt is sweets/chocolates. A sickly sweet story you can't resist or that you dislike, or a story with sweets and chocolates in. Not a story I dislike, and I'm not totally sure they had chocolates in it, but I think they probably did because they had pastries. Probably some of them had chocolate. Was Legends and Lattes by Travis Baldree. In the coffee shop in the book, there was at least pastries, so I suspect some of them had chocolate. I'm currently reading A Court of Mist and Fury by Sarah J. Maas, and early in this book there's just a lot of parties, and they don't really give super details I recall, but I'm sure they have chocolates at those parties. So I'll say that book too. A book I dislike, maybe dislike is too strong a word, but it was disappointing to me, is I read recently is Normal People by Sally Rooney. I didn't like the two main characters that much, and though many praised their romantic relationship, I found it rather toxic. So I guess certainly disappointing to me, and I think I really did like some aspects of it, dislike some aspects of it. So that's what I would say I dislike. As far as a sickly sweet story you can't resist, I'm not really sure about the sickly sweet, although people might consider it so, but I'm reading a fair amount of romances lately, and in those books I'm kind of a sucker for a happy ending, so even if it gets kind of saccharine and sugary, gives you cavities, I would like that story. The romances I've read aren't exactly like that, but I would like that type of a story, because if it has, like, if two people get together, I forgive a lot if I like the characters and if it ends well. So maybe kind of loose for this particular part of the prompt, but I'm going to say not any particular romance, but romances in general, if they're that way, I would overlook a lot for the happy ending and people getting together and turning out well and stuff like that. The seventh prompt is Fallen Angel, a fallen or flawed hero. One character that comes to mind as a flawed hero is Zayden Ryerson from the Fourth Wing series. I'm currently on Iron Flame, the second book of the series. He is certainly flawed. He loyal to a fault to a small group of people close to him who he feels responsible for, but he'll do anything to protect them and do what he thinks should be done. So he's definitely a flawed hero, maybe the definition of morally gray. Suppose the ultimate fallen hero is Satan from the Bible, and featured in many books too. He would be, I suppose, the ultimate fallen hero. Suppose if we want to get biblical, we could perhaps say Adam and Eve are fallen heroes. That might qualify too. The eighth prompt is The Perfect Christmas Book, Nostalgia, Connection with Past and Present. I'm actually reading a book right now, The Christmas Tree Farm by Laurie Gilmore. It's a book club reading. It's a book club. I'm reading this as one of the book clubs I'm part of. The Booked and Busy by Jamie, at Jamie Falk on here. And I'm not too far in, but this book is set in a small town where a woman kind of wants to redo her life. So she, without really thinking too deeply about it, she buys this Christmas tree farm, and it just, even so far that I've read, it kind of evokes a feeling of nostalgia in me. So again, I haven't got too far in that book, but I think for me the book qualifies. Just the qualities of a small town, what small towns are like at Christmas. And people going to a Christmas tree farm and picking out a tree and bringing it home and decorating it. Although in the book so far, there's a lot of issues, and the owner hasn't been able to get the farm up and running. It's actually a romance, and I'm sure that's going to be the main focus of it, but that book evokes nostalgia in me. One thing, though, looking at the tag, I don't know if I'd say it's the perfect Christmas book, but I am enjoying it, and it does evoke a feeling of nostalgia. The 9th prompt is tag some others. So first I'll say, if you watch this video, please consider yourself tagged. If you'd like to do this, whether a video of your own with one or more of the prompts, or one or more of the prompts in my comments, please do so. I'm interested in seeing your answers. But I'm going to tag a group of people. Janet Disquiet and Dragons LH3ZM, Suey at Suey's Book Banter, Nix at Nix Reads, Philip Hall at A Poet Reads to Write. And I know that Nigel tagged you, Philip, but at least for me, I don't mind being tagged more than once. And this is a fun tag in the Christmas season, so I just want to make sure you see this. Smitty at A Book Smitten, Kayla V at Reading with Kayla V, Justin at Trumple Reads, Melena at Melena Milano 8833, Fred at Read by Fred, Roy at Roy Reads Anything, Cliff at Cliff's Dark Gems, Renee at Beyond Books, Nicole at Nicole's Bookish Nook, Jenna at Literally Love 123, Flossie at The Grape Jelly Library, Maeve at Maeve_ever_books, and as with Philip, Maeve, if you see this, I know you were tagged by Nigel too, but I wanted you to see this tag because, as I said, it's a fun one in the month of Christmas. And final person is at ilie.02. As always, only if you like to do this tag. I found it a fun one. Made me think. I've talked to, I would say, I should have mentioned up front, I've kind of changed the way I'm doing these videos. I'm not planning it out so much, so I was just coming up with these answers as I was going along, doing the prompts. When I saw Nigel's video, of course, some things came to mind, and yesterday I watched the video by Pat at Book Chat with Pat 8668, so she was doing her videos, things came to mind, but I wasn't researching them and plotting them out like I normally did. I'm just coming up with stuff as I go along. And there's still plenty of time to go, but I will say I hope everybody who celebrates Christmas has a wonderful Christmas season. And I'll say that several times more, I'm sure, because we're only in the beginning of December. I hope you're having a wonderful reading week, and I hope you're having a wonderful week in general. If you enjoyed this video, please give it a like, please subscribe, please hit the bell to get notified when I upload future videos.